So this guy's name is Null, and he's the owner of Kiwi Farm, and he just had a really bad take on the current state of marriages.
Quake 4 for 5 says, women being exactly equal to men doesn't actually produce a viable relationship. As a minimum, it needs to be a clear division of authority. Nothing functions as a free-for-all of equals. Yeah, okay, but imagine you're a woman. I'm not going to take any more super chats. If you super chat while I'm reading this shit, I'm not reading it. Sorry. I got a video to play in the outro. Imagine you are a woman, and you are born into the society that pull-tards promote. What do? You are expected at this point to have children. But you're also expected to never divorce. So you are not allowed to have a job. You're not allowed to have children, or you're expected to have children, but you're also not given any assurances. So how do you what would you do? What would be your plan to find a man that you can know for sure 100% is going to give you children and then not fuck you over? How do you know? How do you find the one that isn't going to be Ethan Ralph? Because, again, May wouldn't be able to divorce him in this ideal society. You wouldn't be able to have abortion. So if you get knocked up by Ethan Ralph and then he's choking you, you can't get out of that situation. And people aren't going to sympathize with you because the thought is going to be that it's your fault for hooking up with a bad man to begin with. So where the fuck do you go? Do you go online? Okay, great. You went online and you found this wonderful man, and he's got this great job with this entertainment company called Mr. Beast, and you have a child, and you even dress in a cornflower blue floral dress, and you give him a child, and then he troons out because he's been planning to troon out the entire time. Well, now you're not allowed to divorce. You're stuck with this tranny sex pest, and your son, is forced to be exposed to this tranny sex pest. And even if it's not allowed in public, you can't. I mean, what? Are you going to have recourse in private, even if he just does it in private? I think that the people who want to take away all of a woman's ability to decide for herself and have recourse against a bad relationship are people who truly lack the IQ to understand a different person's perspective.
So in your first comment, what are women supposed to do on how they can tell if a man's gonna fuck them over or not? Well, for starters, you bring them to their fathers. Men have a lot better bullshit detectors than women when it comes to other guys. Because you can see when we leave women to their own devices, they're not picking the good guys for relationships. And the issue is always solved by the men in her life. And even though it's still not a guarantee, the odds are still far better when there's a man involved in the decision making. And you seem to think in this society that we don't want divorce, when most of us still do. We just want there to actually be reasons, not because any party just felt like it. So in your cases of Ethan and Chris should be more than justified for divorce, especially since we got evidence of the wrongdoings. But these aren't most cases. Most people are getting divorced for stupid reasons, and that's really due because it's far too easy to get married and divorced. People just view it as a thing to do, not something that actually solidifies the relationship. The people you think are saying that women shouldn't divorce aren't saying that. What they're saying is there needs to be probable cause, and in your examples, yeah, there's plenty of that. But most couples aren't reenacting the main event of SummerSlam or trying to transition their kids. And back before women just solely got to choose, they had their fathers or whatever strong male figure around them to help sift through some of these people.
Because there are so many cases of quote-unquote good men being complete fucking dickheads. Like that guy, even the famous guy, the guy who has the Mug Club guy. What does he do? He has a pregnant wife and limits their household to one vehicle despite being a multimillionaire so that she has to rely on him to navigate around because he gets off of that. The dog is taking a medication that is dangerous to the fetus inside of her, the unborn baby inside of her, and he's telling her to pick up dog shit. And there's no recourse against this in the ideal world. I think that people really don't understand how fucking dire it is for a woman, especially right now. How do you find a person who you can put absolute trust into and put 100% of your future prospects into, knowing that if you make a mistake and you back out of this relationship, not only do you have reduced prospects moving forward, but nobody has any sympathy for you. Because once you're a single mom, everyone hates you. You must have the automatic assumption is that you did something wrong, you deserve it, you deserve to be alone, nobody should ever touch you again because you fucked up. Meanwhile, the man is allowed to move on and impregnate a different woman and fuck up the exact same way and be a dickhead. She was pregnant with twins, by the way. I remember this. So
So on your Steven Crowder point, there's still a lot of unknowns. Just because we saw one fight where he doesn't look good, that doesn't mean she wasn't doing anything either. And I'm no Steven Crowder fan, and there's a lot he was doing wrong in that situation. But you thinking women are in such a dire situation is laughable, when in fact it's never been an easier time to be a woman. They got more rights and a court of public opinion behind them on default, especially if you're a white woman. I don't know where you're getting these ideas from. Just spend a day in the courtroom and you'll see. But you are right that she'll have lower prospects. But what you don't know is that she won't know that. She'll get all the sympathy online, but that doesn't translate into getting chads. And that's what you don't seem to know, because in her mind she's still just as valuable when she got that chad. In this case, Steven. So when she's going on dates looking for people, she's looking for people on Steven's level. Because in her mind, that's her level now. She just hasn't lowered her standards. That's why she won't be able to find anybody. Not because no dudes won't want her. Just the guys that she wants. Because in her mind, she's still that 20-year-old.
Like, this is why I say that white women are the most uncatered to demographic, because they get all the anti-white racism from the left, and they also get all the genuine misogyny from the right. Like, white men who look at their own women with Jewish hatred and say, you fucked everything up. You voted for this. We are completely powerless. It is you and your decision making which has fucked everything up. And when you, if you get pregnant and something happens with the relationship, it's automatically your fault. And we don't want to give you anything. We don't want to give you divorce. We don't want to give you child support. And the child support's Jewish. Family court's Jewish. I'll tell you what's not Jewish. Family court. When Hitler was trying to get more Aryan children, in the same law that he passed in the Reichstag to outlaw consanguineous marriages, meaning marriages between gypsies and whites and Jews and whites and non-whites. In that same bill, the marriage purity law, he gave them the right to divorce, because a woman is more secure going into a relationship knowing that she can back out of and have some social security than one where she has no assurity whatsoever and will be an outcast and a leper. So in the same law that many people would say is based because it outlaws consanguineous marriages, was the same law that gave women in the Third Reich the ability to divorce. So I'm so sick of hearing the shit that it's divorce that has sabotaged birth rates. It's women who have voted in for these power structures that are hurting people. It's not. And there is historical precedent to prove this in contemporary time in fascist governments that would indicate the opposite. And I'm so, like, I'll put it like this to summarize. In history, 40%, I think it's 40% of men reproduce. Only 40%. And if you're one of these people who is like a sour grape, who's like blaming the women of his race for all the problems of his world and not assuming the strength of a man, as you would expect by your own philosophy, you are that 60%. I can tell you right now that you are one of those people who is born disadvantaged, and you are meant to be eliminated from the gene pool because you are an inadequate person. And I'm right. And if you disagree, sucks to be you. I'm glad I'm not you.
You couldn't be more wrong, and you trying to, hey look guys, even Hitler didn't ban divorce, doesn't add anything to your point. No one's trying to get rid of divorce, we're just trying to get rid of no-fault divorce. And since 80% of divorces are filed by women, yeah, it's mostly women's fault, and men have next to no say, and they get shoved through divorce court, losing everything, because who mostly gets all the possessions? The women. And on top of that, men still have to pay child support, which I'm sure most guys are fine with, but that money is not going to the child. It's just funding her lifestyle. Why do you think they fight so hard for full custody? Just so they can have the kid pawn off in daycare or their parents. They're just after more money, and by using these courts with archaic laws, it's not hard to see why most men are just walking away when women have so much stacked in their favor. So no, women aren't the most uncatered demographic. They're the most catered to right now, and it doesn't matter what color you are. They all act as a collective and all have the same rights. So white women aren't in this imaginary position you have in your head. They're all just women doing the same thing, using the government to screw men just because they feel like it. And on that last Hail Mary statistic, I don't know what you think that proves. There were tons of reasons for that. Who do you think was doing all the fighting or the dirty dirty or hard jobs. So it's not that surprising that only 40% of men ever procreated, because a lot of them died before they got to prove anything. But more recently, something in the last 50 to 70 years, women just lie about who the dad is. They pick some beta to provide all the provisions and that picture perfect life while they step out at some point and get impregnated by the guy she actually likes. And this guy gets stuck raising the kid thinking it's his. So no, busting out that statistic isn't the only you think it is. But most men had to do the hard and difficult things that kept society going and died for it. And maybe if you spent a little less time on the internet and more time in the family courts, you'll see that most guys don't actually want to get rid of divorce. They just want some actual fairness and a legit reason other than I felt like it.